I didn't know what betrayal was until I saw her naked, writhing in front of other people's hands. Hands that weren't mine. The day started out like a normal day. I got home from work a little earlier than usual. Selena and I had some plans in the evening, nothing special, just a normal family dinner. On the way home, I stopped by the supermarket for her favorite groceries. She'd been looking faded for the past few months, and I figured a little attention from me would cheer her up. I genuinely loved her, even after 10 years of marriage, and was willing to do whatever it took to make her smile again the way she used to.
Thank you for watching my channel. I create videos for your enjoyment. Please subscribe if you want to support my efforts, it's very important to me. I apologize in advance for any mistakes, dubbing is done by neural network. Please point out mistakes in the comments so I can correct them.
When I walked into the house, Selena was in the kitchen stirring something on the stove. She smiled at me as if nothing had happened. Just an ordinary evening. An ordinary life. But something was wrong, I sensed it from the first few seconds. She looked like her thoughts were far away from here. But I decided not to pay attention. After dinner, she said she was tired and went to bed early. I stayed in the living room, scrolling through the news on my phone until my gaze fell on her tablet. The screen was still glowing, like she had just finished using it but forgot to turn it off. I almost wanted to just close it and go to bed, but something stopped me. Maybe it was her strange look, maybe it was something in her behavior in the kitchen. I don't know what it was, but I decided to take a look. And that's when I saw it. The first picture popped up randomly, an image that didn't immediately catch my eye. Selena in some unfamiliar place, dressed in light summer clothes. But something about her pose was off-putting. She was standing too close to the photographer, and there was something more than lightness in her eyes. I couldn't tear my gaze away. I flicked on. And there it began. The next pictures were more explicit. She was dressed in lingerie, her body glistening in the artificial light. I felt my heart begin to clench with pain. Her legs, her arms. I knew their every line, but she was a stranger in these pictures. I could see her posing loosely in front of the lens, arching her back as if it wasn't my Selena, but someone else. In one of the pictures, she stood leaning forward in a lacy bra, her breasts almost slipping out. And in the next, she was naked. I froze. Watching her touch her body as if it was a ritual, as if she was with this photographer and he was the one who owned her body. These photographs weren't just poses. It was a process, intimate and too personal for other people's eyes. And that's when I saw him. Eric. He was out of frame, but his reflection flashed in the mirror. A focused face, hands with the camera. He wasn't photographing her as a model, but as the woman he wanted. It was obvious in every frame. I don't remember how long I sat staring at those pictures. My fingers clenched so tightly they turned white. I felt everything inside start to churn. Tears? No. I didn't cry. It was anger, so strong I could barely breathe. I wanted to throw the clipboard against the wall, but instead I closed it and took a deep breath. No, it wasn't going to end that easily. I'm not going to suffer quietly like someone else. She has to pay. They both have to. Selena didn't suspect a thing. The next morning she acted as usual, still the same smile, still talking. But I was looking at her with a new, terrible clarity. I looked at her lips, at her hands, and saw how they touched someone else, not just me. Everything I loved about her, everything I respected, turned out to be a lie. Something inside me broke. But I didn't let it show. I couldn't let her suspect anything until I'd followed through. It was weeks before I took action. I planned every step carefully. They thought they could hide behind the lens, that their secret would remain between them. But I already knew everything, and that wasn't enough. I wanted them to suffer. My first target was Eric. Once I found out his address, I started following him, watching his every move. I didn't want to just destroy him physically, that would be too easy. I wanted him to lose everything he had. I started with his work. I realized I had to destroy his reputation, his image as a successful photographer. So I went to his studio at night and hacked into his computer. On the server, I found an archive of his photos, including other compromising material, nude photos of models, possibly taken without their consent. I planted a virus that deleted some of the data and sent these photos all over the city, as well as uploaded them to several popular sites with explicit images. Soon a scandal erupted. Eric lost several major clients, and his studio was shut down for the duration of the investigation. But that was only the first part of the plan. Selena was next. She thought her secret would stay hidden, that I didn't know anything. I let her believe that. She kept going to her photography classes, and one day I followed her. It was at a small studio she used to go to, a place I knew nothing about before. When she left for a shoot, I walked in there. When I entered the studio, I immediately smelled the stifling odor of photo-developing chemicals. Everything looked as expected: massive spotlights, a cushioned couch for the models, tripods, lenses scattered everywhere. The walls were hung with large black and white pictures. The faces of the girls, sometimes almost naked, looked at me with a piercing unnaturalness. But I was interested in something else: her footprints, her scent, the place she'd been with him. Eric's desk was in the corner, piled with papers and equipment. The camera was right in the middle, as if waiting for the next session to begin. I wasn't going to wait. I quickly and carefully plugged a flash drive into his computer with a program that hacked into his system, deleting not only Selena's photos, but also some of his professional shots needed for the exhibition. He would lose everything: his job, his reputation, and ultimately her. Then I left a little surprise. After making sure the system was hacked, I installed several miniature cameras throughout the studio, in corners, on stands, on light fixtures. Everything that would now happen in between, I would see. It was part of my plan. I wanted to know everything they were doing, and when. For the next few weeks, I watched them. Every move Selena and Eric made was recorded on my camera. I sat at home and watched as she walked into the studio, as they hugged, as he touched her face and she let him. I watched her undress in front of him saying something to her quietly and her laughing. These scenes were tearing me apart, but I couldn't tear myself away. It was like a disease. I needed to know everything to the end. One day I saw them disappear together into a dark room meant for developing photographs. The camera couldn't capture what was going on inside, but from the sounds, the faint moaning and rustling of clothes, I knew what they were doing. My fingers clenched to the point of pain, but I kept watching. This became more than revenge for me. It was a plunge into an abyss from which there was no return. One morning, when Selena left for her photo shoot, I made the move that would finalize it all. I sent her a text message on Eric's behalf. In it was an invitation to the studio late at night, when no one else would be there. She didn't suspect anything, of course, since he often left such offers. She said yes almost immediately. Then I contacted Eric, this time on Selena's behalf. The email included an offer to meet at the same studio for a special shoot, completely nude, with a promise that it would be unforgettable. He agreed. Now they both walked into the trap I had set for them. I stood in the darkness of the studio as they entered, unaware of what was happening. At first they were surprised to find themselves there at the same time. Their embarrassment was quickly replaced by nervous laughter. But the laughter abruptly cut off when I stepped out of the shadows. Selena froze when she saw me. Chuck. Her voice shook, both with horror and surprise. Eric took a step back, looking around nervously. You knew this was going to come up at some point, didn't you, Selena? My voice was calm, though everything inside me was boiling. She started to mumble something, trying to explain herself, but I wasn't listening anymore. I'd been waiting for this moment for far too long. Eric, you're an artist, right? I looked at him like prey caught in a trap. Let's do another photo shoot. Only this time with a new participant. I made them sit on the couch where Selena had previously posed for Eric. The camera was pointed at them, the spotlight blinding. They looked helpless, like deer in front of car headlights. All I saw on Selena's face was fear and confusion, while Eric was panicked, his hands shaking. Now it's your turn to pose, I said, pointing the lens at them. This shoot will be the last one for both of you. I wasn't going to kill them, no. But what I did to them next broke their lives forever. I filmed them together, made them get naked in front of the camera, just as Selena had gotten naked in front of him. But this time they weren't a couple in love. They sat in awe, terrified of what I would do next. These pictures were a symbol of their humiliation, their sin. I sent them to Eric and Selena with the threat that if they ever tried anything, I would put the pictures on the internet and send copies to everyone they knew. After that night, I never saw them again. Selena left the next day, taking only the essentials. Eric left town, losing his job and his reputation. I didn't pursue them, didn't threaten them anymore. I knew their lives were already ruined, and that was enough. But there was an emptiness left inside me. I had taken my revenge. I had won. But the price was too high.